Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Baina Midday News. My name is Khadija Kubra Kayla, and coming up this afternoon, minority washes hands of Ablakwa's approval. Also, Mahama embarks on thank you tour of Western and Central regions, and in some international stories, made its leaders reject Trump's proposal for U.S. takeover of Gaza. Do stay with us for details of the stories. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, the news is also live on Facebook and YouTube at Baina TV. Now to our first story. The Minority Caucus in Parliament has distanced itself from the approval of Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa as Minister for Foreign Affairs, citing concerns over his conduct and response during the vetting process. During Tuesday's parliamentary session, Minority Leader Alexander Afenyomarkin reiterated the caucus stance, stating that the minority could not endorse Ablakwa's appointment under the given circumstances.
To symbolically demonstrate their disapproval, First Minority Deputy Whip Habib Idrisu poured water on Afenyomarkin's hands, which he washed, signifying the minority's detachment from the approval process. The minority had earlier abstained from voting on Samuel Nate George's approval as well.
This one, I need proper water. This is not a dry washing, just some small water. Yes, Mr. Speaker, this one, we are washing our hands. We are washing our hands to tell them that everything at the airport hills, Mr. Speaker, I'm cleaning. Mr. Speaker, and I'm cleaning. I am cleaning my hands to tell them that we are not part of the sins that he has committed. All the airport hill sins are on their head. If tomorrow he and his aura start pursuing you, it is on your head. But if he repents and comes back to this house, we will accept him and make him awa too. Mr. Speaker, we rest our case.
Meanwhile, Parliament has approved Dr. Rashid Pelpuo, MP for Wa, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, MP for Nanton, Samuel Nate George, MP for Ningo Prampram, Kofi Adams, MP for Buem, and Joseph Bukari Nikpe, MP for Saboba. These nominees are expected to be sworn in by President John Mahama. The decision followed a rigorous debate and voting process, underscoring Parliament's commitment to scrutinizing executive appointments.
Away from Parliament, President John Mahama is set to continue on his nationwide thank you tour with visit to the Western and Central regions, expressing gratitude to Ghanaians for their overwhelming support in the December 7th elections.
As part of the tour, he will make a stop in Sekondi today, where supporters, party executives, and government officials who will join the president in celebrating the National Democratic Congress victory. Following the Western region visit, the president will head to the Central region tomorrow, where another event will be held at Jubilee Park in Cape Coast at 2 p.m. The gathering in Cape Coast is anticipated to be just as vibrant, with residents and party thank you tour follows a successful visit to the Volta region, where President Mahama expressed his appreciation for the strong backing the NDC received in the polls. The president's engagements have been characterized by messages of unity, development, and a commitment to fulfilling the party's promises, his electoral success, but also to reaffirm the government's dedication to the people who place their trust in the party. It also serves as an opportunity for the president to engage directly with citizens, listen to their concerns, and assure them of the administration's plans for national development. As President Mahama continues his thank you tour, anticipation is high for the future stops in other regions, where he will continue to express gratitude and lay out his vision for Ghana's future under his leadership.
And now in education, the Minister of Education Haruna Idrisu has disclosed that government decision to suspend the provision of feeding allowances for teacher trainees in colleges of education across Ghana. The announcement was made during a meeting with the principals of various colleges of education in Accra.
According to Haruna Idrisu, the government can no longer sustain the practice of feeding teacher trainees, explaining that the policy was unsustainable and did not align with global best practices in higher education. The minister emphasized that feeding tertiary students should not be the responsibility of the government, arguing that it was not feasible for the state to continue providing such support at this level of education. Addressing a meeting with the principals of colleges of education in Accra, Haruna Idrisu made it clear that the government intends to replace the feeding program with an enhanced student loan scheme that would empower students to cater for their own living expenses, including meals. This transition, he noted, is a necessary step to ensure the sustainability of government spending in the educational sector, while also fostering a sense of independence among teacher trainees.
But more importantly, you raise the issue of student allowances. It will continue subsequent to the education forum, for which I have the pleasure to invite you to come. We'll take some major decisions based on the recommendations, but offhand, there is no way you should be feeding a student at the tertiary level offhand. So we have to work out a transition from the allowance into an enhanced student loan for them to feed themselves. But in the interim, they will still get the allowances. Then just the next very few months going forward, subject to the recommendations of the committee. But I cannot conceive of a student in a higher education institution being fed. We can narrow feeding to basic and to free senior high school, but at the tertiary level, so they will still get enhanced student loans to be able to feed themselves. But in the interim, we will continue with the feeding and then phase out the allowance process, subject to the recommendations of the education forum. So we would do that.
Still on education, the head of public relations at the West African Examination Council, John Kapi, has defended the delay in releasing the 2024 West Africa Senior School Certificate examination results, citing ongoing investigations into alleged malpractice. He emphasized the need for a thorough and fair process to uphold the integrity of the examinations. John Kapi's response followed a one-week ultimatum issued by the National Union of Ghana students demanding the release of all withheld results or face nationwide protests. Eco-friendly travel or face nationwide protests. The union has also called for the removal of WAEC Ghana's head, alleging unfair treatment of candidates accused of malpractice. Speaking to the media on Tuesday, February 4, 2025, Mr. Kapi assured that WAEC remains committed to a credible examination process, stressing that the delay is necessary to ensure that only deserving candidates receive their grades. However, this explanation has done little to appease NUGS and other stakeholders who argue that the prolonged delay is causing undue stress and uncertainty for affected students. NUGS has vowed to mobilize students across the country for protests if WAEC fails to meet its demands within the week deadline. And now in business, professional service firm Deloitte has cautioned the governments of Ghana and Nigeria about the risks posed by high inflation, mounting debt, currency depreciation, and a tight monetary policy environment, describing them as a significant obstacle to economic growth in 2025. It is therefore urging both nations to prioritize addressing these challenges to achieve sustainable long-term growth.
In its global economic outlook, January 2025, Deloitte noted that economic expansion in West Africa has been constrained by the rising cost of goods and services, which has led to higher interest rates as monetary authorities work to curb inflation. According to the Deloitte, Nigeria and Ghana have also been grappling with currency volatility, a situation which has severely affected their capacity to import essential raw materials and equipment needed to drive production. In the first half of 2024, the Nigerian naira depreciated by over 40%, while the Ghanaian cedi lost more than 20% of its value against the US dollar. Despite these challenges, Deloitte maintained a positive outlook for Ghana's economy in the short to medium term compared to Nigeria. The Ghanaian economy expanded by 4.7% year-on-year in the first quarter of 2024, largely fueled by a robust 6.8% year-on-year growth in the industrial sector. The report further highlighted that the agriculture and services sector grew at a more moderate pace of 4.1% and 3.3% year-on-year, respectively, in 2024. Deloitte also noted that Ghana is gradually recovering from its debt-induced crisis, aided by the government's ongoing restructuring of its $30 billion debt. Additionally, monetary policy interventions by the Bank of Ghana have contributed to easing inflationary pressures.
On international front, Aga Khan, spiritual leader of the Ismaili Shia Muslim community and known for his development work around the world, has died in Lisbon, aged 88. His passing was announced by the Aga Khan Development